what does today's sell-off and price movement mean for the future of the market, and how do we trade it moving forward? What do we do with it tomorrow, next week? Stay tuned, and I'm going to show you here in this video. Welcome back to Day Trade Like a Pro. It's January 25th. It's Thursday. The market has just closed about 30 minutes ago from when I'm recording this video. Now I want to show you a couple of things. In this video I'm going to go over with you some of the warning signs of how we could have known potentially what was coming today as far as the selling that occurred. Why I don't think that the high is in yet, and I'm going to show you the case for that. And I'm not sure the low's in yet. We're going to go look at it. I'm going to show you some things, and then I'm going to show you some tricks and some things that I'm using as far as using the different markets to find correlation between those markets and see what we want to do with that. So stay tuned, and we're going to jump right into it. So very first thing here is the we had NASDAQ moved up higher here, moved down to here, moved back up. S&P looks very different. See how S&P moved down and then never took out even from the news. Now this was the move from the news on the NASDAQ, so NASDAQ was much weaker. So what this is these lines that you see drawn on here, and I'm actually going to erase the what am I doing? Drawing tools. Here we go. So I'm going to erase these highlighted areas. That was just something we'd marked in. So this video is really for the members who are trading with me in the live trade room. And I'm going to make this available. So I'm doing this review for them, but I'm going to make this available for everybody else. So if you're watching this and you're not in the live trade room, then you'll understand. So let's go back here. I want to just give everybody the opportunity to learn as much as they can here from this. So what has happened? If you look at yesterday, we had this big gap down to this level. And if you're familiar with the prediction point methodology, you can also think about these levels similar to the way we think about prediction points. If there's a bunch of them together, then it's likely that we're going to get some consolidated movement in that range. But when there's big gaps, they forecast volatility and they forecast that kind of movement happening in the market. So if you can see, we didn't get down to this level, and we did not have this yesterday, this one that's coming up here. So that's new for today. But we didn't have that yesterday. So we had this low for the yesterday that came in at 89, and we had this level down here at 83.5. And it was like, come on, we're like 5.5 points away. Just go tag that level, and it'll make this whole thing so much easier. And if we tagged that level yesterday, today looks completely different because we're probably going to keep running to new highs. That doesn't happen. So coming into today, what we have is, and I'm going to show you how these markets are correlated and how the S&P was a huge tell today for what was to come later on here in the day. Also, the S&P ended up majorly recovering and almost closed back near the highs today. So not at all the case on the NASDAQ. So this is interesting. So NASDAQ was a lot weaker as we got into the afternoon. So I'm going to jump into this. But now what we have is we have this level really here today down to, let's say when they put in the low over here during RTH, this was on the news, but when they put in the low over here, it came to 96.75, and the low at the time, or that level down here, was at 87. Again, if they would just come down and tag this level, it would make a whole difference on whatever's going to happen next. So let's look over at the NASDAQ, and I'm going to show you on the NASDAQ, you're going to see that this is going to look fairly similar in some ways. So NASDAQ did come down and tag this level yesterday. It probed through it by about 5 points, and then pretty nice rally. And then what we got here today is it came down and again failed to get down into these levels. So if those break, it really opens things up, and we're probably back into the 17,400. We've got this 380 area, but who knows where that will be in the future. That's going to continue to move up higher in the future. But What would have been really nice is to just come down here, tag any 3 of these, and then move up from there. But we didn't get that, which makes me really interested to see how this is going to play out with the NASDAQ and then, or with the S&P and with the NASDAQ doing what it's doing. So let's see if we can kind of make a plan for that, for how we move forward from there. But this has been kind of lurking, and it's been lurking since, if you look back here, we got this big move. It came back over here. And then we have this big gap from here all the way down into here. And we talked about this, and it kind of failed. This move initially broke and then failed. Buyers just keep stepping in and buying it up and keep stepping in and buying it up. It didn't get back here. You can see they broke above here, and it never came back and retested. So if that could happen, it would make things a whole lot easier moving forward here. But it's just not been happening. You know, it's not been there. So we have, I want to talk about 2 different things. We had this move up. This was, all of my charts are on Pacific time. So we had this move up at 7:20. It says 7:25, so 7:20 to 25 candle. We had this move up. It stops right here, you know, within that line's at 26, and it stops at 26.5. So within 2 ticks. And then we get this move up over here, and that's just before 9 o'clock, and it stalls out. So I just want to point out that from here to there, that's what that looked like on the S&P, and it held this level right there. Did not get up above there. NASDAQ made it look different. NASDAQ, if you look right here, this is the candle at 7:30. And that's the candle at 9 o'clock. So look what happens. It gets back up above there. It does not get up to here to test this level. And then it immediately fails and then comes right back up and tests that level again, which, zoom in on this. So this breakout fails. It comes down and it comes back up, tests that level. It does not hold, and it ends up moving lower. We'd already tested this 2 times. We tested it in the morning over here. It held. It came back. There was some good opportunity here. It had probed this level earlier. It came back and held this level within a couple of points. It got a really nice move. That got the false breakout, which was enough, I'm sure, to get a lot of buyers on board that were fooled by that false breakout. But if you're looking at the S&P and you have all this context and you see S&P did not break out and it actually ended up holding this other lower level, not so quick, you know. So this probably gets a lot of buyers on board. The real last chance here was this like 670, 665 area as it came down here. And I didn't like how this came down, stalled out, got some reaction, came down, front ran this price a little bit so that they could come right back through it, came back up, tested it, and then let's talk about what was next, which should have been, so we got down to here. This was, you know, so there's a big gap. So this forecasts that if we break here at 65, then we should see down here to about 610 area. So 610, pretty nice reaction off of that. It moves about 35 points off that area. It did probe it a little bit, 9 points or something, but it, you know, no problem. It ends up moving back up, and then does not get down to this level. So we're thinking if it breaks this level, it's going to, you know, come down to this level. What would have been nice is if it broke, came up, tested, and then came down to this level. It didn't do that. Came down, stalled out, came up to here. This is a level that we use. We drew this in, the green one. It came. We have these every day. It's just one. It's not the one price indicator, but it's very similar to our one price indicator if you're familiar with that. This is, you can kind of use that as above that level we want to be buyers, and below it we want to be sellers. That's one way to treat it. And now we're stalled out here. You know, it's like it came up here, didn't quite get back up to here to test that again. But I'm not saying, so the main overall thing here is that things in the market are not really super clear right now. We have this kind of problem area that, you know, the market can still come back and test down here. And we haven't really broken out yet. We need to really break up above this and come back and hold it and then get a move out of there. That would be a breakout. But for now, we have not broken out. There's this problem area down here. Now, overall big picture, I think they want higher. All the charts say that they want higher. But there's some, this is a little bit problematic. Now, here's what it means. If they don't come back and check it, there's only two scenarios. The scenario is they come back and we test this, and it either holds or it doesn't hold, whatever. But first scenario, they come back and they test this area. Second scenario is they don't, and we end up just breaking out and going higher. It's problematic for higher because they really do want to come back and check this level. So at some point, and when it happens, I'll try to do a video about it, but at some point they're going to want to come back and check that level. And that's why I've been saying for 2 or 3 days now, if they just come check that level, it would make this whole move so much easier. But we just haven't gotten that test yet. It just hasn't come back there. So, you take what you get in the market. None of us can make anything happen. I want to show you one other thing, and I just want to show you what the NASDAQ looked like. These are, if you follow us here at Day Trade Like a Pro, these are the white lines are prediction points. You can see probed above it a little bit, but you can see a lot of opportunities. These yellow lines represent some percentage of, right here it's 50% between the prediction points. This is 50% between the prediction points. This is 25%, so it's 50% between the 50% and the prediction point, so that's 25%. And then this one made a lot of sense to me today just because there were such big gaps. This one made sense to me today to draw this one in, which was the 12.5% level. And you can see in the morning, and I'm not doing this to try to impress somebody, or if you're new here or you've been following us for a while or whatever. If you were in the live trade room, you know we had this level marked in. And full transparency, I didn't trade this. It wasn't something that I thought I really want to put a limit order here and trade it. I missed a couple good opportunities this morning. So not my best day as far as the way that I traded. But, and I said this morning in the live trade room is that there are... there's doing the analysis and then there's trading it, and they're very different things. My analysis today was absolutely spot on, I think. And I think anybody in the room would agree with that. I wanted to buy this when it came down here right there, and because that was this level on the NASDAQ. I'll just show you. That was this trade on NASDAQ right here in the morning. It came down and touched this level. And it was a really easy, like 30-point scalp. If you just snatched that, you could have easily gotten 30 points on it. And so that was a great one. And then that was it. We would have been done. And I was looking at something else on the S&P chart, and I missed that entry. And then there was really no opportunity to get back in it again. So I waited, and I waited it out. It came down here. I didn't like how the S&P was moving at the same time the way this was moving, so I didn't buy this level. I didn't just have a limit order in to buy this. And then it did probe a little bit lower, and I said earlier, it could probe that a little bit, and the area that would make sense would be down to here. And then I didn't get in it. And so not my best day as far as the way that I traded it, but pretty good analysis. You could have just done what I outlined, and you'd have done a lot better than I did. So it's just, it's the way it goes some days. So it came down here. I could have been more aggressive on getting in on the move up as it came back up there. But and then I left just so we're clear about a couple of things. I left my charts up and streaming, but I had to go handle some things, and this was 7:40, so we just wrapped up the trade room officially, and I left to go handle a couple of things, and this came back and tagged right here. And I know we had some members in the live trade room who had a limit order sitting right here at like 78.5, and ended up getting filled on that. The low, I think, was 76.5. So the low is 76.5, and it just, ended up coming right back up here. And I did end up getting a couple of trades in here on the S&P that were smaller scalps, like 2 or 3 point scalps on the S&P. So I did end up doing that, and then we got the false breakout. Anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there for how I traded, but just to show you, you really just need one good opportunity a day, and you can do pretty well with it. So I don't want to get too long-winded. It's already probably a little longer than I want to be, but just so that to give you that idea of what I'm looking for is that you have this, you have this move here, and what happens next? S&P has been a lot stronger. Maybe they just come back and check right here around this 49.11 or 12 area, and maybe that's all we get in the overnight, and then it ends up moving higher. Maybe they do want to come back down and test this lower, like 40, 48, 90-ish, depending on when it gets down there. And maybe the Nasdaq can move down into these levels, and then get some support here and get out of that area. So this is a little bit of like, you got to be flexible, you got to stay on your toes, you got to see how it goes here. But we'll be doing that in the live trade room. If you're interested in being a part of the live trade room, I'll put a link below here where you can go check out and apply to be in the room. We only have a couple spots left, and so if that's something that you're interested in, you'd want to get an application in sooner than later. And from there, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But it's making things a little bit tricky that they just haven't come back and tagged this already. And if they could just do that, it would make things a lot easier again over here. I just don't know if we'll get that right now. So that complicates not tagging this right now on a day like today. And again, if we didn't come back and get that on the Nasdaq, it just complicates things for in the future. So the markets are unfolding in this story. They're constantly telling a story of what's going on. This is the story right now. There's some conflict in the market. Overall, buyers have been in charge, but there's some prices that need to get tested in order to make any kind of a move up really sustainable. So we'll see how this goes. It's like that 540. It could end up being a little bit higher. 540 to 520 area, something like that. It could even be a little lower. It could be 510. So there's kind of like that. Keep that in mind tomorrow. And next week even, like 540, 550, depending on how late it is. Like, if it's next week. But like 540 to 510, that's going to be an area to keep an eye on. If they can't get some support in there, then things open back up probably down to 400, 17,400, 380, something like that, depending on when all that unfolds. It's obviously these are going to change over time, so we'll see how that all unfolds. But hopefully that's helpful and gives you something that you can use in your trading tomorrow. If overnight they come down and they tag this and we get a lot of support and a lot of buyers jump in here, then that should be a pretty clear sign that they're going to want new highs tomorrow. If that doesn't happen, and depending on how the overnight session goes, we'll just kind of have to see. So got to be a little flexible, got to be on our toes, but that's how we'll be approaching it this week and into next week, depending on how tomorrow goes. So hope your trading was great this week, and hopefully this video helps and gives you some clarity. If you want to check out and be a part of the live trade room, there's a link below, and would love to have you there, or have a conversation at least about what it would look like to have you there.